Thank you very much, and let me tell you what a great pleasure it is for me to speak at this 2014 graduation ceremony of the International University in Geneva, an institution with which the International Trade Center works very closely, and the more I spend the morning talking to some of you, the more I discovered we have a lot of friends in common, and that's great. Congratulations. At least on this one, you've made it to the finish line. And a year of very hard work is now behind you. Today, you are starting a new journey in life. The world and the job market you are entering is not an easy one. But I have to tell you, it's a fascinating one, full of opportunities and full of promises. Let me start first with the bad news. Forecasts are that by 2030, we are going to have a jobs shortfall of 500 million. It's an imposing figure. Competition looks real tough. But the world of 2030 will certainly look very different from the world of 2014. Seeing you here today makes me think of when I graduated in 1992. And I couldn't but think how different 1992 was to today. There was no internet, had no tablet, no smartphone, no cloud technology. Of course, the WTO had not even been established, and many of you had not been born. This is obviously not to age me, but rather to show how dramatic the changes can be in just one generation. In 2030, we may be writing with our thoughts, we may be traveling to the far reaches of space, or we may just have faster internet and slimmer tablets. Who can tell? Forecasts and predictions are important, but they are not absolute. And let me now come to the good news, because there is also a bit of good news in this. What is certain is that today you leave here with very good tools at your disposal, including an excellent education under your belt and years of experience with colleagues from all backgrounds and with different perspectives. This exposure to diversity, this exposure to different points of view, even if expressed in funny Italian eating habits and funny Russian needles here and there, will hold you in good stead as you enter a job market that is much more multicultural and much more diverse, knowing no borders, and where diversity and innovation are traits to be celebrated. So my first advice to you as, if you wish, an older sister that I feel in this ceremony is respect diversity and search for innovative solutions. Both are two important traits that you will need in order to prosper in the world of tomorrow. Another such trait is both micro and macro in view, and this is an appreciation for interdependence and interconnectivity. As a human species, we are only really now coming to terms with this interconnection, and more importantly, with the interdependency of issues, such as poverty and climate change, such as environmental and biodiversity threats, such as job creation, access to health, education, empowerment of women, and equality for all. More importantly, we now understand that in order to tackle these issues, we need to approach them from a holistic perspective. And here comes my second advice to you. Do not forgo your individual skills, but rather blend them and mix them to allow you to have more comprehensive perspectives on the issues that are facing the global community today. This is exactly the kind of debate that the international community is having now to define the global development agenda post-2015. And this is the debate in which the International Trade Center this UN and WTO agency that we are, is very much involved. Let me take an example which shows these two sides that the ITC brings in helping policymakers, in helping the private sector to enjoy the opportunities provided by trade to generate growth, to generate jobs, and to help foster development. Trade, as you have no doubt studied during this last year, and especially a more open trade, can sometimes be wrongly perceived as a capitalist tool to exploit the poor and increase the bottom line of the rich. And I would be the first one to recognize that free trade is not always without its flaws. But what I have been pushing in the United Nations is to have trade recognized as a means to an end, as a means to a sustainable future, as an important component of a global growth model. Having spent 8 years in the World Trade Organization, I have seen how critical an open, rule-based, non-discriminatory trading system is to ensure a global level playing field and helping ensure that trade stimulates economic growth. Central to this is obviously the role of the private sector, and in particular, the small and medium enterprises that are the backbones of our economies. But trade is not just a sector. It's a framework through which development and, more importantly, empowerment can be achieved. And it's here that the United Nations DNA of the International Trade Center comes into play. Linking trade with development, making sure it helps women economic empowerment, make sure it generates jobs for the youth, and making sure it contributes to sustainability. This is a global effort. For it to be effective, it must be based around collaboration, cooperation, and mutual learning, and not just between countries and governments, but also between societies and people. And this is my third message to you. Value cooperation and partnerships. Act individually, but first think collectively. Understand how you can be part of a fabric that is woven using thousands of hands. At ITC, we're really passionate about entrepreneurship, innovation, and connecting with the private sector. We believe that effective global cooperation requires concrete connections with those that are driving commerce and creating jobs, and who have even a greater potential to give back to the development story. And here I'm speaking of improving the dialogue and the partnership between policymakers and the private sector, with international organizations such as the ITC being the bridge, the connector between the two. I'm particularly pleased to be sharing the receipt of today's honorary degree with Paul Pullman, a gentleman who understands the need for profit, but who equally understands that true profit comes from making a difference to people's lives on the ground. Unilever's work in ensuring sustainable livelihoods for consumers and producers along the supply chain is admirable. And frankly, it resonates very well with a lot of what the ITC stands for. This year, as we've heard from our colleague, the ITC celebrates its 50th anniversary. Our mandate to empower small and medium enterprises, to increase competitiveness, to internationalize, remains as relevant today as it was in 1964 when we were invented. SMEs are engines for sustainable development. They generate more than 90% of the jobs in the world. Job creation is not an add-on to social goals. Without jobs and without the empowerment that comes with it, the impact of social interventions in health, in education, in environment, in peace and security will not reach their full potential. Economic empowerment through jobs anchors and sustains social progress. And as we promote trade as a tool for growth, we must also ensure it is supportive of environment. It's important to make sure that we build a positive relationship between trade and our global common, which is the environment. We in the International Trade Center do that by ensuring our programs have embedded environmental considerations, by helping small producers produce and trade in green products, in sustainably produced products, and in sustainably delivered services. And we are proud that Unilever has chosen to work with us in this endeavor. This is just one example of how we see inclusiveness in business, but we are doing much more than that in women economic empowerment, in connecting poor communities with local, regional, and global value chains, and in developing e-solutions to help smaller players reach what are often very distant markets. The private sector, and in particular the ecosystem of SMEs, can be part of the solution to the global questions that we are grappling with today. Equipping them with the tools to better understand and address climate change, empowerment of women and youth, quality and employment standards, decent labor standards, will be a collective win for business, but also for the global commons. Your understanding of diversity, your exposure to different perspectives, and your focus on innovation are already potentially important inputs into the world of tomorrow. And let me give you a final advice. The university which you are living today has empowered you to be actors for change, not just spectators of the change, actors. Whether it's in public service or in private practice, whether in a small, in a medium, or in a big way, whether in academia or in civil society, use that power. Make sure you contribute to global good from wherever you will be. And if you have a tablet, you can already start right now by logging onto myworld2015.org and contribute by selecting the 6 things that you consider more important for tomorrow's world and helping the United Nations construct the global agenda of tomorrow. Now, I was going to end with a quote from the coach of the Spanish football team, but given the lousy performance of the Spaniards in the World Cup, I've decided to change a bit. I've rather gone a bit more sober to a Spanish poet, someone that is very close to my heart. His name is Antonio Machado. He's a civilian. He was a civilian. But he spent a large part of his life questioning his journey, his purpose, and defending causes. A lot of what I think we need you to do as soon as you leave this room. He told us, by walking, one makes the road, and upon glancing behind, one sees the path that never will be trod again. Wanderer, there is no road, only wakes upon the sea. Everything passes and everything remains, but our destiny is only to pass on open roads on the sea. Don't be discouraged by failure. Don't be dazzled by success. Just remember that what counts is to be part of those who opened roads onto the sea. Good luck for the future, and if you ever need to chat with someone that has gone through pretty much what you're going through and you will be going through, my office is just next door. Give me a call and we can have a nice conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Arancha Gonzalez, for your insights and your wisdom, even if it comes across through the mouth of a Spanish poet. We felt it was a seafaring nation that he...
That's right.
Exactly. So I have the honor now to confer on behalf of the International University in Geneva, the University Board of Trustees, by virtue of the authority vested in it, a doctor's degree of honoris causa of letters to Arancha Gonzalez, with all the rights and privileges pertaining hereto. I'm not quite sure about these rights, but anyway.
We'll talk about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a great pleasure. I think they want to have a photo.